Hey, I have another key issue showcase for you that's a little bit different than some other ones you might see videos on. Today, I'm going to talk about questionable keys that are in my collection, and we're going to crack a few of these open to see what makes them maybe keys, maybe not. They are in my key collection, but I think they could be somewhat debatable. Now these aren't just like personal keys that I'm talking about, right? Like, oh, this is the issue that I got for my birthday on whatever. So to me, it's a key. I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about my Moon Knight joins the West Coast Avengers key issue, but things that people see as key issues, but at the same time, you could be kind of, does that really qualify? And I think a good example of that is the first one that I have here is Wolverine number 80. So Wolverine 80, what is this? So in Wolverine 80, we see a very quick shot of a test tube right up here. And if you can see on it, if it focuses, on that test tube, it says number 23. And this is a test tube that has samples of Wolverine. So this is supposedly the genetic soup that becomes X-23. It's the 23rd sample that was used to that successfully created X-23. This, let me be sure on the year here. This was published in 1994, a full 10 years before X-23. Before Laura's first appearance. So, what was the deal here? Was this like a really long play, or was the inspiration for Laura like they saw this, they went back to this, and like, oh, there's a 23 test tube. Let's go ahead and sort of retcon that into being X-23. So, is this a key issue? Well, it's not a first appearance of a character. Nothing major happens in it, but it does have some amount of significance. And I'm not going to say whether it is or it isn't. I would call it a very minor key, maybe. But a key issue, I don't know. That's the kind of issues that I want to talk about, where I could see people debating that. No, that's not a key issue. I can see that. I think it is, but it's close. The next, what I have is a set of 3 comics. This is Amazing Spider-Man 96, 97, and 98. So what is special about these, again, no first appearances or anything like that, but this was the time when books had the Comic Code Authority stamp on them, and these books did not get that stamp, and Marvel published them anyway. So this has a drug-centered story. Harry Osborn gets addicted to drugs, and any sort of depiction of drugs or drug use or anything like that was not approved by the Comics Code Authority. Even though they are shown in a bad light here, it's not like a pro-drug story. It did not pass, and Marvel said, well, okay, whatever, we are going to publish it anyway without that. Because the Comics Code Authority, that was really just a self-governing thing. Independent, but sort of self-governed, like the industry is governing itself. It wasn't like required by law or anything for it to get that stamp on there. So there's, they went ahead and published it anyway. Again, key issue, not key issue. Uh, I think it is. I think it's a key issue as far as the history of comics is concerned. So that's why they are in my key issue collection. But I just think it's an interesting. Actually, I haven't read the story yet. I'm excited to get there. I'm working my way there. Right. I'm in the early 50s of reading through all of Amazing Spider-Man. So it's a way to go to get here yet. But yeah, I'm curious to see what the actual story is, and um, I think these qualify as keys. All right. I think as we go, we're getting a little more away from. Is it? Isn't it? All right. So the next one that I have that we'll take a look at is Marvel Age number 12. So this gives, as you can see, it's Secret Wars, a lot of Secret Wars stuff in this issue of Marvel Age. Marvel Age is basically a preview comic that sort of talked about things that are in the works or coming up. But when we talk about Secret Wars in keys, we are going to be talking about Black Suit Spider-Man. And this has a preview of Spider-Man's black suit, which is a bit different. Mostly it's the same, except it has a red colors instead of white for the spider symbol and the spots on his hands. So this is a Spider-Man, Black Suit Spider-Man in his Wolfpack years. If you don't get that, that's a very old WCW joke, which I'm embarrassed to say. There is another one. So this, obviously, it predates Secret Wars, and therefore predates the actual first appearance of his costume. But it is a preview of it, and it's not 100% the same, but it is obviously very similar. So is it a key? Is it neat? Certainly it is neat. I don't think you can deny that it is neat. Is it a key? I don't know. When it gets to this preview stuff, and this is the first of 3 preview books I'm going to talk about, it gets really tough to say that it's a key. I will say that it is a preview of something. At least it doesn't say it's the first appearance of it. It is a preview. I guess they call it a prototype because it is a little bit different. But they're not calling it something that it's not. And so that's I feel better about it. But again, because it is of interest to an important icon in comics, the black costume, then yeah, I would say it's a key. But I would never call it the first appearance of the black costume. All right. So this is Justice League of America number 42. No first appearances, none of that stuff. And I don't know if this is a book that a lot of people know the significance of, or if people would even call it significant at all. It's something that I think is really interesting and really neat as far as comics history goes. So, and also has nothing to do with the story or the characters in the story. The key of this appears in the letters section. Let me read you, and it's a short letter. All right, so JLA mailroom. So just for some context, this came out in February of 1966. Find that page again. All right. Dear editor, great, magnificent, superb, and anything else you might care to add. What am I talking about? Crisis on Earth A. Cool. That's what. Nothing has equaled it, and I don't think anything else will. If you guys keep bringing back the heroes from the Golden Age, people 20 years from now will be calling this decade the Silver 60s. And sure enough, the 1960s became the Silver Age. So this is in my collection as the first reference to a Silver Age of comics. And it's during that actual age. I think that's really cool. This one, I think a lot of people would debate me on this being a key issue. Out of all of these on here, I would probably feel the strongest to say that this is a key issue. I think that the mention of the foresight of this random person writing in saying, wow, we are in the Silver Age, is really, really cool. And I don't know, kind of an interesting thought experiment. All right. Let's go here. All right. DC Spotlight. We're back to the previews. So DC Spotlight, there was only one of them. It was a free giveaway at the time at comic shops. And it has a number of previews of things that are coming up. One of those things, the very last thing, is the Watchmen. And a little blurb on talking about what the Watchmen are, and basically trying to sell people on, hey, look out for this thing, and buy it. So this is a key issue. To me, it feels quite similar to the Black Suit preview in Marvel Age 12, but this is considered to be the first appearance of the Watchmen. I take issue with that. They showed up in a preview, and it was just a picture of them and then a few paragraphs talking about what the story is. That, to me, is not an appearance. Now, if this were to be called the first, I don't know, picture of, first preview of, or whatever of the Watchmen, and it was a key issue, I'd be okay with that. But the fact that many consider this to be the first appearance of the Watchmen, I mean, it is what it is. So if that's what people say it is, and that's how it sells, and that's de facto, that's how it works. But I don't know. It doesn't seem fair, right? So further exacerbated by Absolute Vertigo. So Absolute Vertigo has a preview, you can see up here, maybe a little bit, a preview of The Preacher. And we can go ahead and take a quick look there. And these previews are actual previews, right? It's panels, or full pages from what is going to be the first issue. So, like this is when you actually see Jesse Custer in action for the first time. So, what is this then? If this, just an image of the Watchmen, is the first appearance of the Watchmen, and this has actual comic content of the Preacher, then this must be the first appearance of the Preacher. It's not. Nope. It is a preview of the Preacher. I don't, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for this to be a first appearance, and this is, I think, undeniably more content of the character, but it's not the first appearance. Again, who decides these things? I think it's whoever kind of gets in there first, and who, someone was sitting on a stack of these, right? And they pushed real hard to make that the first appearance of the Watchmen. No one cared about this enough to really push that. I also believe, as I was looking some stuff up for this episode, uh, before this, there was a book of pinups that Vertigo came out with that had um, the main preacher gang, Tulip and Jesse and Cassidy. They were in a pinup, but that's not like hardly anyone even knows about that or mentions it. All right, so yeah, that preview stuff, I don't know. Can they be keys? Yes, I think as long as they are labeled correctly. This is labeled correctly. This is labeled correctly. Black Suit Prototype, sure. Preview of the Preacher, yes. Key issues and labeled correctly. First appearance of the Watchmen, something's going on. That's not right. Yeah. So, Batman Damned #1, a rather infamous book. So it is the first Black Label book, so that could be considered. This is also the first appearance of, I think the official naming of it is the first appearance of the Bat member. I think in my notes I have the first Bat Ding Dong or something like that. But we see Batman Bruce Wayne in his full naked glory, and it made history. After the backlash of it, which I don't really understand why there was backlash of it. The Black Label stuff, it was known from the beginning this is going to be more adult-oriented content. If it would have been a female character sort of showing all, would there have been as much backlash? That's something different. Backlash. I'm going to say probably not. Maybe a little bit, but I think for the most part, I think there were, I don't know, a lot of dudes that got upset. They got tricked into seeing a penis. They felt really uncomfortable with it in themselves. I don't know. I think it was ridiculous that I got any backlash at all. It's just they were trying the Black Label. They were trying new stuff. Let's do something edgy. Let's do something that is strictly adult, and they went for it. And I think it's too bad that it got shot down. I think our Black Label stuff might be a little bit different today, if that wasn't the case. Who knows what that world would look like. But is it a key issue? I think on its own, if there hadn't been a big stink made about it, no, it wouldn't. But because there was, it kind of made itself into key issue infamy. They're not easy to get. They're a bit pricey. All subsequent printings after the first printing edited it out. So I don't know how many printings there were of that, or and then in the collected edition it doesn't show it. So it made it even more of a big deal than it already was. Again, I don't really agree with that. Again, I don't agree with censoring content at all. Like if that's what it was intended to be, then let it be free. let it flap in the wind, as it were, I suppose. So yeah. Actually, there's one more that I forgot to pull out. Just a second. All right. So sorry. There's a book that I had thought of, that kind of spawned this entire idea, and it's the one book I forgot to actually pull out. So while I was gone, I hope you were smashing that like button and subscribing so hard and writing your most thoughtful comments. So this is Thor number 390. In this book is the first time that Captain America lifts Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. This became a fairly hot book somewhat recently with Endgame, because Captain America wields Mjolnir in Endgame. Before that, no one cared. No one cared about this book. But, in the MCU, Captain America enlists Mjolnir. This is the first time he did it in comics. So now it's suddenly a key. I don't think this is really should be a key. I think an indication of an event happening that no one cares about until it happens to show up in a movie is telling that it's not a key. It's one thing for a character to not be popular and then their first appearance picking up steam after they show up in a movie or something. That's fine. I get it. But before that happens, their first appearance was still their first appearance. It was still a key in that regard. This is just something that was just part of a story. No big deal. Didn't raise any eyebrows. But as soon as a similar thing happened in a movie, then it became a key. So if I don't think this is a key, then why do I have it? I got it for really cheap. It was in pretty bad shape when I got it, and I cleaned it and pressed it and made it look a heck of a lot better. It was like in a discount bin, and I saw it and everything that was wrong with it. I'm like, I could do something with that. So I would not pay. Like I think this I have valued at like, I don't know, $50-$60 or something like that. I would not pay that for this book. I think I paid less than 10 for it when I got it, and it was hot then. It was just in bad shape, but I was able to work some magic on it. So yeah, that is my list of questionable keys that are in my collection. Let me know what you think about these, and what sort of key issues do you think that you might have, or just that just in general, maybe that you don't have, but you've thought that maybe those should or shouldn't give more recognition. We can talk about things like Hulk 180, right? That's kind of a different debate. That's debating what is a first appearance. It's probably fair that they're both keys in their own way. But if there's any examples that you have of things that you think shouldn't be keys or things that should be keys, let me know in the comments, and I will see you later. Bye. This video was brought to you by Titan Comic Pressing. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Titan Comic Pressing LLC.